If you guys are wondering about me having to wear a blanket, it is extremely fucking cold here in Portugal, and the heating in my house has not yet kicked in. So for now, I just have this maroon blanket that honestly is really fucking comfortable. Like, I might just... Nah, that just looks goofy. That just looks... Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It is me, ya boy, same person, different year, same bullshit. And today, we're going to be talking about some music that was released last year. Now, when people make these sorts of videos, they always talk about some of the bigger projects. And honestly, I do not blame them. They're big for a reason. And 2023 has given a lot of music to talk about. You've had the Skrillex albums, you had Chime, Abstract, and Nightbook releasing albums. You have had massive compilations, you've had massive singles, you had massive EPs. So much music to talk about from last year that it would be impossible for me to actually properly talk about it at once. It would take me like a day of recording just to talk about every single song that was released last year. Obviously, people talk about those songs, but I want to make this video to talk about tracks that you know, you probably haven't heard of from last year. Tracks, but also EPs and LPs, just a little bit of everything. Before further ado, no, that's without further ado. That is the wrong expression, G. I suck at intros. I probably need YouTube coaching to do intros. Let's just move on with the video, okay? Before that, I would like to shout out some people that have released some amazing music. Why did I choke on my word there, and why did I sound like a cow? Amazing music that was released last year. First of all, I would like to shout out the two people that I've done reactions to last year, SV and Turbo Fury. They've released such good shit last year that I physically had to stop myself from constantly putting them on best of 2023 playlists that I was making. It's just, they have released so much good music. I would like to give a special shout out to the latter tracks that they have released. SV with To Be Real, released on this compilation, released by Interval Audio, that I've completely forgotten the name now, because where it is supposed to be a brain, there's just, you know, air and shit. And Turbo Fury's Vibe that blew the fuck up, and there is a reason why it did that. It's such an amazing song. I would like to also shout out the Nealuminum community for not only a slew of amazing releases, but also constantly being picked up by Naughty Step. The biggest EDM channel recognizes Nealuminum, and with reason. clwdy's EP, X2H's album, the Psy 2 compilation that has such amazing music, including from artists like Psychedelic, like SV, like, you know, Desks, the founder. Just amazing music being released there. Also, a lot of great artists that have released music last year. Boom, who released on Akios and kickstarted that label. Psychedelic, who also released really good music. Just so much good music to talk about, and I just really wanted to give a quick shout out to these people. So you know, let's now get on to some of the tracks and projects that I believe that deserve to be talked about here that you guys probably haven't heard of. So for a little bit of context, a lot of these projects and a lot of these tracks, I've kind of found them on Twitter. I've kind of relapsed on that, but don't worry, my sentiment of wanting to punch the living shit out of Elon Musk still persists. One of the albums that I discovered whilst I was browsing Twitter was from an artist named Moist Breezy and was called Pure Imagination. So what is this album about? Well, the album is pretty much Moist Breezy trying to get to that sort of 90s, 2000s music, the type of music that you listen to clubs, you know, Rhythm is a Dancer, Rhythm of the Night, Mr. Raider, I think that's the name of the track that I'm thinking of. I can tell you right here, right now, that she fucking nailed it. Every single one of these tracks is able to successfully bring you up to that time. One of the things that I've experienced when listening to the entirety of the album was that every single song reminded me of a different song. But not in the way of, you thinking that maybe Moist Breezy copied the track or, stole something. No, none of that. It's more in the sense of, you feeling nostalgic over tracks that you've listened to before. And that is an element that she really is able to use properly throughout the album. Nostalgia. Although I don't think the nostalgia she was trying to go for is the nostalgia that I got, because as I was listening to, for example, the opening track, Pure Imagination, I was thinking of Saturn by Kill the Noise. If you want to listen to this album, do it. I will link every single project down below, either in a SoundCloud playlist or if YouTube allows me individually, but I will link everything down below, including this album, which is an absolute masterpiece. Now, the first track that I want to talk about is a track that you probably have heard me use already in one of my mixes, that being Mirage by Triakis. I used this track on my Shimatsuki set early last year, and there is a big reason as to why. It is a really, really good song that just feels futuristic, and it definitely does nail that futuristic vibe, especially because if you're like me, you've probably picked up that a lot of this is like a reference to Wipeout, the racing series that I absolutely adore and I've played since I was a child. I mean, Triakis and Mirage are names of teams from the, series. So I really, really like the drops in this track. I can probably see a few people not really enjoying the first drop, but I personally really, really do. I do dig the dissonant chords in the background that give a little bit of an unnerving feeling to the track, but I also really, really like on the second drop when the lead just gets to be by itself and it just lets it, go through the melody really, really nicely. It's just a really, really nice track to just put on the headphones and just vibe to it. It's really relaxing, actually. This track is really, really weirdly relaxing for future rhythm, even with the dissonant chords on the first track, so absolutely recommend listening to the track as well. Now, the next track is one that I believe surpasses the original version by a mile. Now, before you go after me in the comments, I really, really like Leotrix's double-side EP that he released on Halcyon. I personally prefer Follow Your Heart more, and that's partially because Trail Mix did an amazing job with this flip. Who knew that Junk Mail would go so well as Halftime? What Trail Mix does here is grab the original pattern and melody from the original track and just distort the ever-living shit out of it. But that works so well. And the second drop, in which there has that little flip to like drum and bass, is just sends this track to stratospheric levels of craziness. It is the perfect form of a flip, and Trail Mix did an amazing job working with the original. It's just a crazy flip that I cannot believe that I get to experience. So it still blows my mind to this day. Now, this track is a bit of a doozy. It's a really long track, but jpques has done, again, an amazing job with this, and no moment in this absurdly long track feels boring. You've got progressive house, you've got mid-tempo, you've got nice breaks in the middle with very soft pianos and like very good ambient work that just makes this a beautiful experience with some hard-hitting shit in the middle. I absolutely recommend you listening to this if you are a fan of long tracks that feel like an adventure. jpques, I salute to you, I give kudos to you, because I tried myself doing a very long track. It's way harder than it looks. So Now, this track is really deep, and I absolutely adore it. Bird Tattoo, I think I got the name of the artist correctly. Let me just get it, because if you know this channel, you will know I suck at names. Bird Tattoo just does an amazing job with just a very deep reese. Just showing that sometimes simplicity really does wonders in making your track stand out. Even though whilst I'm listening to the track, I just think of how great it would be when mashed with Swimming Pools by Kendrick Lamar. Can we just don't talk about the techno drop in the middle of the track? That just threw me out of a loop the first time I heard it. It comes out of nowhere, but it's a good comes out of nowhere, because, you know, you're relaxing, you're vibing, you know, you're having a fun time, then just hits you right in the face, and then it just does amazing pad work, and then goes back into the fucking progressive house section. Like, you don't do that. That is just insane. Like, wow, that just, again, great track by Bird Tattoo. Absolutely recommend listening to it and the compilation that it's from. Plus, I really dig the album cover because it reminds me of football. These two tracks shot me the first time I listened to it. First of all, Helleborus Lividus, which I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it correctly. I think it's Helleborus Lividus. Helleborus Lividus basically asks the question, what would happen if Jerez's style got turned into brostab? The whole track goes hard, goes crazy, goes nutty, but then in the middle, it just hits you with a mariachi section that threw me out of a fucking loop the first time I heard it. I was like, mariachis in brostab? Like, I've seen it all. And the fact that it works, and the fact that it goes well, is what surprises me more of this track. But out of the whole EP where this track is from, which by the way I also do recommend listening to, this is not my favorite track. It's the pure rock ballad. Very rarely do you see in a dubstep project pure rock. You have seen tracks, you know, join metal, dubstep, rock elements with each other. I mean, look at fucking Sullivan King, for Christ's sake. But pure rock, like this track, I have never heard of in a dubstep project. When I was listening to this, I just could not keep my mouth shut. I was dumbfounded in a good way. What an amazing track. What an amazing end to the EP. It does bring some nice closure to the project where it's from, and just absolutely stunned me. Now, this is the second album that I'm talking about, and it is a very, very interesting project. This past year, I discovered an artist named Agony OST, and the project Sleeper MK Ultra 4 has, you know, intrigued me for quite some time, because if you look at the track list, it's the same track, but in different versions. But that's what makes this album so good. Not because it's the same song over and over and over again. Quite the opposite. Every single one of these versions feels and sounds different than the version that preceded it. There is a version here for everyone, and somehow it was able to not sound the exact same, and I give kudos to Agony OST for doing that. But I do have my two standouts of this. Those are the original / extended version and the drum and bass version. They are both the tracks that sound the most like each other, but the drum and bass version specifically was the one that I listened to the most, and oh my god, it is able to grab the elements of the original version and just make them fit so well to drum and bass. The pad work, the melody, the little change in the sub that doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things, but just has so much impact to it. It is such an amazing song, the drum and bass version. If you want to listen to this project, do it. I highly recommend to you. Just go do it, please. I would be on my knees, but again, it's really fucking cold, so I don't want to leave the blanket. Just... If you have heard of Violet Pony, it's probably because of the track Antonym, which is one of my favorite tracks of the past few years. But they have also released some high-key bangers ever since then, and one of them is probably the most interesting name out of the whole year. The story of DJ Goober is pretty much a send back to the times of Big Room House. And honestly, it nails Big Room House. Like, Big Room House is a genre that, for all intents and purposes, is dead. And the reason why is because of the saturation that happened when it was extremely popular. It felt the same over and over and over again. But Violet Pony is able to go back to that style without making an obnoxious track. It is such a nostalgic blast. And I just did a hiccup. It is such a blast of nostalgia done well. Kind of reminiscent of what Moist Breezy did before a different time and a different genre. Violet Pony did an amazing job with this, and it kind of made me want to listen to more Big Room. Now this track is probably the smallest track out of the whole that I'm talking about today. I discovered this because YouTube randomly recommended the album this is from. This is such a simple track in execution. It's just a pad, a vocal sample, and an almond break being chopped. But just those elements, just that, has made one of the most mind-blowing tracks. The rhythm of the almond break on that first drop is just insane. It's bouncy, but it's hard-hitting, and with a pad on top, it's unnerving. And the second part of the track, in which it goes halftime, and it's just, you know, this very old-school dubstep beat, is just simplicity done right. It's mind-boggling how three elements, just three elements, made such a track that I wish there was more, but I do recognize that if the track was longer, it would probably lose the magic. The very short the very short runtime of this track highlights the qualities of this track. It's just amazing, this. Now, this artist I found, funnily enough, on Instagram, so social media has carried a lot of my music search, as you can tell. A fun fact about Odyssey, you probably know her name, because she made Discord all of those years ago. Yeah, the track that later got remixed by the Living Tombstone and became a huge meme, yeah, it's one of her originals. Now, I have heard a lot of her more recent tracks. The two that I've been bumping a lot were Goodbye Japan and Lace and Linen. Lace and Linen is the one that I want to give the highlight right now because it's Eurobeat, but not like any other Eurobeat that I have ever fucking heard. It takes the, you know, normal elements of Eurobeat, like the synth, the beat, the BPM, the style of vocals, but it works with them in such a completely different way that it provides an experience that it's very unique in this type of genre. And I would like to give Odyssey Eurobeat kudos for that, and I would also want to ask if I can get the stems for it because I want to turn it into a trance banger. Please, I beg of you, door stuck. It's such a fucking great track, and it's like, again, to end this little part, one of the most unique Eurobeat experiences that you will hear. I got this. You look at me. Now, this track was recommended to me by, I believe, Turbo Fury, and I am so glad that he did. This is such an amazing bass house song. It's catchy, it's got a nice vocal hook, but the drops are so nasty and so clean that, you know, the more I was listening to it, the more I recognize this is probably one of the best songs of last year. Can I again just talk about the album cover? It's just really well made. It complements the track really well, and again, talking about the track, it's just really boppy, and it's sure to make the crowd move hard. It is really fucking good, and I highly recommend that if you are a fan of bass house. Now, the last track that I am going to talk about in this video is the latest track that I found throughout the year. This I also found via Twitter, and the moment that I heard that drop for the first time, I was fucking dumbfounded again. It's such an amazing drop that grabs the original melody of She's Homeless really well and is able to turn it into one of the best rhythm tracks of the underground. It's such, again, very simple in like idea. Just grab the original pattern and turning it into rhythm. But it's really well executed, really well progressed, might I add. It never gets boring. When you think that it's going to get boring, there is another element to it added that just, you know, again, makes the track exciting, makes the track a bop, and doesn't make it boring. It is an amazing bootleg of one of the biggest classics of the 1990s, and what a job that it was done to it. So guys, that was it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I would like to apologize if I repeated myself a lot throughout the video. I really like these tracks, and because I like them, you know, I get a bit excited and then my mind gets a bit jumbled up. I would like to also say that if any of the artists are watching this video right now, first of all, hi, how are you doing? I hope you enjoyed the video. And second of all, thank you as well for the tracks that we have released this year. They are so good and they deserve recognition, they deserve the attention, they deserve to be listened to, and there are some of the biggest bangers that I've heard from the past year. Well, let's look at what 2024 has to offer in terms of music. I've already seen that there are some great things coming on the horizon, like for example Eliminate's album being released early February. I want to see if I can make a video on that, but until then I will probably now start obsessing with trying to find new music, then at some point give up, listen to the same music again, and then figure out in December that I completely forgot to listen to new music.